Hi everyone, this is Amanda Ellis of amandaellis.co.uk, Facebook page Angelic Celestial Colours and YouTube channel Amanda Ellis 11. Welcome. I'm making a video tonight, the night before the solar eclipse on August the 21st, a complete solar eclipse. And I wasn't going to make another video, but I find myself away for a few days in Yorkshire, North Yorkshire, where I used to go to school. Actually, I have roots in Yorkshire, and we have rented this 500-year-old cottage, and it just really struck me that there is so much symbolism and so much history and so much context provided by looking back in time, because the very nature of our world is often that things repeat themselves. And there is that famous quote, isn't there, that those that do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And I feel as though there are some really important lessons for the times that we're in, so that we don't make the same mistakes of the past, and we can really collectively and personally move forward to a brighter future. And the eclipse is all about heralding in that new consciousness that wants to be birthed, and new ways also for us and our lives. So a few thoughts that came to me, as I say, from having been, or being now, within this beautiful building. When you are sort of somewhere as old as this and as ancient as this, and actually it feels quite familiar to me because I grew up in a 16th century cottage, so it was 100 years younger than the one that I'm in today. But I grew up with low oak beams, and my father, who is 6'4", was always banging his head on the beams, and it was a very magical place, full of history. And this is even older. This dates back to the 15th century. So we are looking at 500 years ago. And it really just feels as though at this moment it would be very good for us all just to pause for a moment and just connect in to maybe what was happening 5 generations ago, and what we can learn, and then also look forward 5 generations as well. So wherever you're living around the world, obviously your country has its own history, and you may have an awareness of what was happening 500 years ago. Certainly 500 years ago in the UK, we were coming into the time of, we were sort of in between kings, but it was certainly in between Henry the 7th and Henry the 8th. And Henry the 8th in particular was a fascinating king because it brought in great changes to do with religion. And indeed this cottage was built and has a history linked to that persecution. Although actually the energy in this place is very, very friendly, it feels very peaceful. So whatever has happened on this land feels as though there's been a lot of cleansing. But this particular place was built by somebody, and there was also a chapel which was anointed to John the Baptist. And even reading that, I thought that was really interesting as well, because John the Baptist was very much the forerunner energy to the birth of the energy of Christ that would be to come. So I feel as though I'm on very ancient land, in a very ancient building, very ancient property, which has seen so much happen over 500 years. And also links way back, as I say, to figures like John the Baptist and also Henry the 8th. And there's just such a rich seam of history to be ploughed here. The main message that was really coming through from Spirit, I felt today, and I've written down some notes, which is why I'm looking down, is that we are obviously here on a holiday. We have paid money to be here. It's a self-catering cottage, something that many of you may have done in different parts of the world. And if you think back, you know, over 500 years to the people that would have been possibly living here, certainly working the land around here, they would have been manual labourers. They would have been people who were very, by nature, were close to nature. They were working the land. There would have been obedience to one faith and one faith alone. There wouldn't have been the opportunity for different opinions, different belief systems, and they wouldn't have had much downtime. You know, they wouldn't have been going off to a holiday let in the way that we do these days. And just, you know, in a relatively short period of time for this Earth's history, which of course is millions and millions of years old, if you think about the changes that have come in and that a place like this has seen, it's quite extraordinary. We've seen, this place has seen wars, and it has seen peace, and then it has seen wars again. It's seen the Industrial Revolution, it's seen the growth of certain industries, and then it's seen the demise of certain industries. It's seen feast, it's seen famine, it's seen the rise of the new technologies, the digital technologies, the technological age which we're now in. It's seen the rise of the vote for women, for equality across the board, taking it right up to present day, gay rights, for example. The advances that there have been in medicine, you know, 100 years ago, let alone 500 years ago, you know, the thought that we would be able to put a heart, transplant a heart into somebody else's body, work on brains, you know, do the sort of, even the cosmetic procedures which people do these days would have been an anathema to people living then. And I feel as though Spirit was really just wanting us to spend a moment to think about the changes that have come in over a few hundred years, because the spiritual path is very much about a path of ascension. You'll have heard those words many times bandied around. We're on an ascension path. We're on a path of spiritual growth. The world is changing. The earth is raising its vibration. We are entering a new era of consciousness. And sometimes it's really important just to sit back and think, what on earth does that actually mean? And it can often feel a very remote thing, a very remote goal, something that, you know, is going to be almost impossible for us to imagine, let alone believe is going to happen in our lifetime. You know, more peaceful ways, the birth of the divine feminine and the flowering of the divine feminine energy, the rise of tolerance, unity consciousness. You know, it goes on and on and on. And I think when we look at it on a day-by-day basis, it's very easy to think that change isn't happening. And it's certainly not happening at a fast enough pace. We want it quicker, we want it now. But I think the one thing that history teaches us is that when you do look back, you can see the enormous changes that have happened to the land, to the people that live on the land, and the way that society is basically structured. And also the changes that have been in terms of religion as well. One of the things that I think is particularly obviously relevant to you and I watching this video, because I guess if you're watching this, you class yourself as on your spiritual path and a spiritual being. And you wouldn't have had those, you wouldn't have had the privileges, you wouldn't have had the opportunity a couple of hundred years ago, let alone 500 years ago, to have started to think for yourself, to have questioned some of the things that are laid down as law, to have started to read more widely, to even be able to read. You know, education wasn't necessarily free for everybody. to develop this growth of spirituality and search for the truth. And I think, you know, on this eclipse eve, it's really important to look back and honour the past, look back and honour the growth that there has been, also respect and have gratitude for the opportunities that we have now in our lives to explore, to open up, to search for higher truth and meaning in our own life without somebody having to do it for us. The New Age is very much about, there is a link to the divine, there is a link to the angels, there is a link to all the ascended masters that is available for everybody now. You don't need an intermediary. You don't need to go and see a priest or a higher figure who holds that vibration and somehow gifts it to you. There is nothing separating you from the divine. It is accessible to all. And that would have been something that probably would have got my head chopped off in 500 years ago. You know, it would have been something where you would have been, you wouldn't have been allowed to have said it. This is completely, and certainly if you had said it, you would have died a death from having said it. Fortunately, most of us now live in societies where there is free speech. But it is really interesting that with the advances in technology, and particularly the internet, of course, what it does is almost brings a wave of persecution back. And you can see that sometimes when sites get trolled, when the haters come out in force. And it's always to do with not allowing free speech, not allowing you to have the belief system that you have, the things that you hold true. It's the age-old energy of somebody else coming up and saying, you are wrong, you are not allowed to think that, and I am going to point out how wrong you are. And I am going to try and convert you to my perspective, because only I know the truth. And that's what I love about new spirituality, which is there is no one truth. You know, well, there is, I guess, which the one truth is love. But there are many different pathways that you can get to effectively reach the same state that we're all after. And so I feel with this eclipse, there are a few things that are coming up. One is, I feel as though we should all be praying, meditating, and doing our bit to free some of the chains from the past. So we really can close a door on some very old, stale energies. And one of them is definitely the energy of persecution, okay? Quite a few people over the years have said to me about coming out onto YouTube and talking as I do. They'll sort of say, oh, you're very brave to do what you do. Well, I don't feel very brave. I don't think I'm very brave doing what I do. But I passionately believe in the right for anybody to be able to say whatever they want. And I also believe that I am protected as you are, that if you have something to say from a spiritual place, that spirit always comes in and protects those that work for it, okay? And so I feel as though there are some people that are watching this now who have been living in fear, maybe, of speaking their own spiritual truth, worried about what other people will say, worried about ridicule, worried about being put down, worried about being judged. And this is an old energy that has been on this planet, as I say, for hundreds and hundreds of years. It certainly was alive and kicking 500 years ago, you know, at the time of the people that used to live in where I'm sitting now. And isn't it now the time to let that go? And of course, for the world to let that go would be a huge thing. But for us personally to let it go is actually something that is much more manageable. And so I really ask you to dig deep and to think about the flowering of your own ability to really speak your truth. But there's a real proviso with this, which is that when you do that, that you also respect that other people may have very many different opinions to you, and that that is okay also, okay? It's not about trying to convert anybody anymore. I want to just show you a picture that's up here on the walls. I'm actually going to walk the camera across the room. It might be a bit shaky for a few moments, and then we'll come back here, because it really ties in with what I'm trying to convey here. Also gives you a little bit of an idea of this room that I'm in. So hold on, let's just walk the camera over. And actually what I'm heading towards is, I hope it's going to show up, a tapestry that's on this wall. Okay, can we see that? Yeah, we can. Old tapestry. And if I just zoom in, okay, we can see here, I don't know what it's supposed to depict, but it's very much feels to me as though it's to do with kings and queens, certainly people of riches, who would have been going off, and it feels very much to me almost like a bit like the Crusades, you know? It's going off to convert. That's what it feels like to me. And that is just such an old energy that we don't need to be doing that anymore. Nobody needs to be converted. It's about digging into your own truth, you know, and what is that truth? So, I don't know, that tapestry really speaks to me. If I just put it up for you to look at, maybe there's something that you can pick up from it as well. Okay, so let's walk back across this room, showing you the different view. Look at these beautiful flowers, by the way. This lady who I'm staying with, she's just put flowers everywhere. Okay, I'm going to go back to my place. Okay, sorry about the zooming camera. Let's put it back there where we started. And we'll go on to the next thing that Spirit was talking about this morning to me. Okay, when I made my last video, particularly the one on earth changes, there was something that I alluded to in that, which was something along the lines of that we all needed to be a bit braver, okay? We all needed to be a bit braver, we all needed to be strong, we all needed to dig deep, because we know there are changes coming into our world, okay? Be that natural events, be that more unfortunately terror-related attacks that are going to happen. You know, we know that we live in a fairly unstable world. And that's not to put fear into anything, it's just being realistic, okay? And the spiritual path should be about being realistic. It shouldn't just be about you know, fluffy stuff in the sky, you know, and escapism. It should be about looking at all of it, looking at the light and the dark, looking at the things in the world that challenge us, and being brave enough to talk about those things as well. But I mentioned something along the lines of, come on now, you know, we've got to dig deep. And what I didn't say, because I felt it sounded a little bit rude, and I have Venus in Virgo, so there's always a side of me that is a bit, I like refinement, you know, I like refinement, I like elegance. I don't really like swearing, and well, I don't like swearing at all. I do obviously from time to time, like we all do, but there is I think I'm making my point. But anyway, what I really wanted, the message that was coming through, let's just spit it out, he's saying, just spit it out, okay, he was telling us to grow a pair, okay? And I can hear straight away people are going to come down on me like a ton of bricks for saying that. It's like, why would an archangel use language like that? Well, don't forget it's filtered through me, okay? But it's the only way I can express it, which is that we all need to grow a pair. And what he means by that, and again it came to me today sitting in this house, was come on, we are a generation, particularly I'm 50, so maybe not if you're a little bit older than me, but most of us, certainly under the age of 60, we are so fortunate. We have grown up in an era of relative peace. Now, of course, if you're watching me from Syria, you're going to say, hold on, Amanda, that's not true. I'm talking about most of us who are in cities which are relatively peaceful, and that is most of the world. Even though there are hotspots around the world where there is war, where there is horror, where there are atrocities, most of you that are watching this are watching from a relative place of safety, okay? If you think back even 2 generations, we had generations who had to go to war, where the whole of their society was turned upside down. You know, certainly in the UK, talking from the UK's perspective, the only reason that the female vote came in was because women had to take the jobs of men who were away fighting the war. And after that, after having shown that they could do it, it became a momentum of change that meant that women were not going to be ignored any longer. There have been revolutions, there have been wars. Every generation has risen to the challenge of its time. Our generation, we've been relatively lucky, but I feel as though times are coming where we're going to have to grow a pair, okay? And actually, rather than fear it, it's actually like our ancestors had. It's an opportunity to show what we are actually made of, okay? To show our courage, to show our strength, to show our skills that we didn't even know we had, and to come together. I'm not saying that World War III is about to break out. Please do not misrepresent what I'm saying here. I'm just saying that we know that there are changes to come. And rather than fear them and go into a place of victimhood and, you know, why me, and oh, can't you take it away? Don't talk negatively, Amanda. Don't be fearful. Let's grow a pair like our ancestors did, okay? And let's embrace the challenges that may well be to come with birthing this amazing new fantastic world which needs to come in a few generations time. I'll come back to that in a moment. Let's be brave, let's be courageous, and let's just do it, okay, in the same way that our ancestors did. And I'd like us just to spend a moment right now thinking about our ancestors, thinking about those people that have walked this earth before us. Maybe you know who they are. You may well know who they are, going back a couple of generations. You probably don't know who they are, going back 500 years, okay? But you will have ancestors, like I did, that go back 500 years, that will have seen so much revolution, so much change, so much challenge, so much adversity, as well as so much beauty. And they did it, they survived it. And the reason they survived it is because you are here now. You know, you wouldn't be here now if your ancestors hadn't got you to this point. And so let's just acknowledge them at this powerful time of the eclipse. And of course, the eclipse's energy isn't just for tomorrow or the next day, it's for the next 6 months to a year, maybe more than that, okay? Let's honor our ancestors, and also let's realize that they are cheering us on. They are wanting us to succeed. They didn't take us this far for us to fall now. And I'm very clearly being shown, as I talk to you, a relay race. That's what I'm being shown, a relay race. And you know, in a relay race, you're passed a baton, aren't you? I was watching the one recently with, was it Usain Bolt? Did he do the relay race? I think he did, didn't he? Yes, he did, that's right. Because he got cramp. But anyway, maybe that's not the best analogy. But anyway, relay race, passing the baton. Your ancestors have done the first 2 or 3 legs. They have passed the baton to you now. They've put in a lot of hard work to get you to the place that you're at now. And so dig on their strength, dig on their reserves. And if you look back and you think, oh, crikey, but, you know, my grandfather was a chronic alcoholic, or he was this, he was that. Well, go back further, you know. There will be strength within your family line. And even the ancestor who was the alcoholic would have had great strength. There would have been other traits that were very noble and very useful for you now, okay? Draw on the strengths of your ancestors at this time. And I'd just like to spray the Sapphire Peace spray at this point. Just connect into that long row of people behind you, male and female, who are in your family line, who are with you at this powerful time of change and transformation in the collective world and in your personal world. Okay. And of course, if you go far enough back, you get to a place where we're all actually joined. We get to the place where man was created. And then if we bring the energy all the way back down the line, we get to the point we are at now, where we are on the brink of a new man, woman being birthed. And this is the fifth dimensional man and woman that is going to take our planet to the next level. And for that to happen, it needs you to be there, running that relay race as well as you can, for as long as you can, knowing that you have been trained and you have the ability to finish the race. Now let's look to the future for one moment. I'm going to spray the Archangel Metatron Soul Star energy. Soul Star is the chakra above the top of the head, where new consciousness can come in. Let's just spray this. Feel the energy above the top of your head, beautiful lavender energy coming down, opening you up to this new frequency that is available now for yourself, for the planet. And it's as though there are these little seeds that are coming down within that lavender energy. Beautiful seeds. And they are asked to be planted in you. And these seeds will form the bridge for the next 10, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 years from now. 500 years from now. Just take a moment to connect to that place. Connect to the planet. The planet is still here. Notice how much brighter and lighter the planet is. The density has gone. There is a lighter vibration around planet Earth. It is also lit up by many stars. And these stars also indicate galactic help. Almost like galactic satellites that I'm seeing. Stations around planet Earth. Feeding her, nurturing her, but also an energy of give and receive. An understanding from Earth that there is more out there, a knowledge and a knowing, an actual knowing that there is, and equally an exchange of energy back from our galactic friends to us on Earth in 500 years' time. We have grown as a species, and we have grown to such an extent as a species that we can now match the higher vibrational beings that have always been there in our galaxy but haven't been able to reach us in 2017. Our consciousness was not high enough. It will be in 500 years. And then connect to one individual on this future planet that has your bloodline. Note whether they are male or female. Note their age, their height, but above all, note their energy. Feel the love and the purity that they hold. Feel the non-judgment that they hold. Feel the crystalline vibration that they hold. Feel the abilities that they hold. Telepathy. Channeling, connecting to higher guidance, angels, ascended masters. It's normal. It's every day. You may want to note what they are doing, where they are, all the while knowing that this is your bloodline. This is what you become. This is what your bloodline becomes. And then that being looks up and does what we have just done previously. It pauses and takes a moment to reflect on the ancestors from 500 years ago, i.e. you. And it thanks you for all of the work that you did. It acknowledges how difficult it was at times to rise above the darkness in 2017. But you did it because you believed in this light that was coming into our earth. Quicker than you realised. It didn't take 500 years. But 500 years hence, the world is very different. Beautiful, shining earth, fully in a new vibration of unity, co-creation, and mutual association and respect from our galactic friends. Note the word religion. Has little relevance. The new vibration is spirituality. Each being connected heart to heart, honouring, loving, graciously living alongside all. Note the colour of your skin. The essence of your being. And then pull some of that back now. Through the years. The bit that we are allowed to pull back. To allow our seed to grow that we have within us in 2017 inside ourselves. Pull back some of that beautiful energy from the future to now. And Archangel Metatron speaks now. I was with you in the past. I am with you in the present. I am with you in the future. I was with your ancestors. I am with you now. I am with the future generations. I see all. I am all. I honour all. All that you are, all that you have been, all that you will be. You can do this. Your ancestors did it, you can do it, the future generations do it. Find yourself. Find your core, your essence. Dig into that. Dive into that. Be that. Feel that strength. Feel that clarity. Feel that love. Do you still feel that you cannot do what is asked? No. You know that you can, and you will, and you are. Together, this new earth is and will be born. Feel your role in history. Feel your connection to the past and the future. We thank you. We honour you. We love you. Okay. So I'm going to end the video with one card, just because I brought them to Yorkshire and I thought, I didn't know why I was bringing them, so I'm going to pull one card. Spirit Oracle, Tony Carmine Salerno again. One card, please, Metatron. It's the card of alchemy, and it says your inner light shines when you are at peace with yourself and the world around you. Let go of the struggle and feel the beauty inside you. Allow all to just be and just be you. Let's end the fear. Let's just do this and let us be the change that we came in to be in this world. Whatever arises, whatever comes, we can do this. And we are doing this. I think that's probably it. I'm going to end though with Archangel Uriel, who is a very grounding energy. So just feel your feet on the floor. Feel your feet on the earth. Feel your connection to Mother Earth. Feel the piece of earth on which you stand and its history and its richness. And it thanks you. Namaste. Bye everyone.